Good evening, viewers, and welcome to another interesting episode of your program, Healthy Living, coming to you from the Nigeria Television Authority, Nta Akure, the dynamic station. I am your host, Sunny Iridia Bajasi. Today on the show, we'll be looking at another very important topic, which is mental health in adults. That is, mental health in adults. We'll be looking at what is the meaning of mental health, and also what are the causes of this ailment, and if there are, treatments for this ailment also. These are more we have for you on the show. We need to go for some break, and we'll be right back. Please stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. This is Healthy Living, coming to you from the Nigeria Television Authority, Nta Akure, the dynamic station. I said today on the show we'll be looking at mental health in adults. Mental health in adults. And to throw more light on this topic in the studio is no other person than Dr. Babatunde Akin Binu. He is the Publicity Secretary of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, Ondo State Chapter. Sir, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
It's nice having you.
It's always a honor to come here and address topical matters as relating to health and, living of our people.
Thank you very much. So let's get down to your business. We are looking at mental health in adults. From your own perspective, what is mental health?
Excellent. So mental health is a spectrum, right? Mental health is a spectrum from absolute mental well-being all through the way to the complete absence of mental balance. And that's where you talk about people being completely insane and unable to take care of themselves, or what is called madness in regular balance. Now, what that means is that it's from being super perfect in the mind and body to being completely from 0 to 100. And so it's between 1 and 99 as mental health. Now you can be sure that nobody that lives has absolutely no challenge whatsoever. So all of us have some, as long as you have something you're bothered about or something that disturbs you or something that makes you anxious, anxiety is a mental health challenge too. It's not just absolutely stripping yourself nude and walking on the street. When anxiety, worry, fear, tension, which can be for so many reasons, can be acute or chronic, what finances, what have you, So there are all mental health challenges, at varying degrees. All right. So mental health is a spectrum as it is. It's not a definitive illness like malaria or hypertension. It's just a spectrum. But then to come into what you're speaking about, saying, how do we look at the mental health of adults and the aging population? That may be what you're looking at. And that's very important when we're talking about geriatric medicine and the management or maintenance of the older segment of our population, which are really, we call something extremes of age in medicine. Children at the age of 5 and elderly people at the age of 65. So I guess that this conversation wants to focus on the mental health of elderly population.
That is true.
And I guess we'll do a good job of
that. So it's I see from your explanation, it's as if there is no particular, age bracket in this.
No, mental health, mental health is what it look. The definition of health is absolute mental, physical, social well-being. Now just relate that to the brain and the mind. All right. So emotional, psychosocial, and environmental. These are things that affect. So now for this as established, we are now looking at that as it affects elderly.
That is true.
where they have more significant challenges alongside biology. As they grow older, there are natural in and the changes in their mental health, which we should educate society to know so that they can adapt appropriately to it. And then even older people, as they grow older, begin to prepare for this, so that they can cope with the changes that occur to their own bodies, as well as those who support elderly people. So that's what this education is about.
Thank you very much. Please, what are the causes of this mental illness?
So mental illness, yes, still, is not exactly. You see, mental health is like I said again, that's why it's important for our audience. It's not an illness, absolute mental illness. When a person completely cannot control it and is on the street, that is defined by all manners of things, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. That's why. But you are absolutely perfect. You have no, even me and you sitting down here have challenges. Money is not enough, the economy is great, and those are giving us some pressure or the other. Actually, I'm going to write common entrance, I'm going to write why the world they pass, they don't pass. So those are things that put some pressure, but you can control it. It doesn't affect your external behavior at work and all. Okay, but then with older people, it's not just the pressure. Their cognitive function begins to decline naturally. Brain cells begin to work less optimally than it may have been before.
That's true.
Their muscle bulk begins to drop. How much they can metabolize, how much they eat, even their immune system decreases. Their bone density decreases. So there can be changes in the way they think. There can be changes in their memory. There can be changes in even their overall behavior. And they may not even understand it. You find older people who do not remember names. Now, these are all things that happen to people, to many people in this population as they grow older. It's a natural change that occurs. And it's how long do you live? If you live for long enough, you're going to experience some form of it or the other. It can be mild, it can be moderate, it can be severe. And some people, I've had friends who began to have elements of mental health declination, reduction, and I don't want to remember them.
Loss of memory, things like that.
And loss of memory is just one of them. Changing cognitive capacity, changing you capacity to remember things, changing your ability to interpret things as you would have done before, are all parts of it. Or your interpretation of what is right or wrong, or what you like or dislike, So there are different types, common ones. Since it's a general population, we're not talking to medics and all that. I don't want to go into too many scientific research and all that. Yes. But there are the common ones, Alzheimer's disease, for example, which are things like which Muhammad Ali suffered from, very popularly. There are Alzheimer's is the common one. There is Lowry, dementia, and all manners of things. These are all things that happen with declined mental health standards in a lot of people. Which one have you understood and supported?
Yeah, thank you very much. From your explanation so far, are there any physical symptoms of this mental illness?
So when people begin to have decreased mental capacities and all that, it's quite obvious. So a man wakes up in the morning and he knows he should brush his teeth, and then he should dress nicely and do what he should do. But you just find out that he's suddenly disinterested in it. A woman is suddenly, you see, usually it's very slow in developing, and sometimes it just creep on the person. The person doesn't even know, because with people work, for example, in the civil service or what, till they are 60, they go to work every day, and then one day they are 60 years and one day and they don't have to go to work again. And that's a complete change in their social organizational routine. And then they begin to find out that the rest of the world is moving on, not necessarily with them. And then when their friends and colleagues start dying, then you begin to see completely different body mentality. Because people start getting disinterested in life. They cannot do what they ordinarily have done. They cannot live, their muscles and bones are not exactly moving on. Their immune system is compromised because increasing age, and they can't exactly get around with what they would otherwise have done. They can't catch up with trends in the society anymore. Their children or grandchildren are telling them you're old. And old people don't like hearing about bones, and those are all social things, very obvious. It's not like What do you have when you have malaria, you have fever, you have joint aches, you can be worse than that? No, that's not the way mental health in the aging population is considered. It's like, okay, how do you identify that daddy or mommy or grandma is changing? And you know that it's not that they are being wicked. It's just that their bodies are changing on them and they are just following the natural pathway that even you that is complaining right now is likely to pass through the exact same phase when you get there.
That is nature. And viewers at home, if you are just tuning in, this is Elder Living coming to you from the Nigeria Television Authority, Nta Akure, the dynamic station. We will go for a short break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. I still have Doctor in the house, that is Dr. Babatunde Akimbinu. He is the Publicity Secretary, Nigeria Medical Association, NMA, Ondo State Chapter. And we are looking at mental health in adults. Doc, please, if I may ask this question, what are the behavioral signs? We talk about symptoms. What are the behavioral signs of mental health?
So, of diminishing mental health, or declining mental health. So, I guess I mentioned some of that earlier on. Yes. So, with declining physical activity, usually, you see, when you're moving around and doing every social activity, your brain is still catching up with what it should do. When all of a sudden you do less, all of a sudden you are fixated in one place, your horizon may begin to diminish. When there are less people that relate with you on a daily basis, even if you are still collecting a regular salary or a regular pension, you just go from, your mental picture, your social circles, just sometimes appears to collapse. And then people just involute and begin to, relate a little different. Slowly, but certainly. For some people, it's sharp. Well, I mean, I've had 45-year-old people that just slipped into better challenges. They can't cope with pressure, tension, and all that. So know that naturally, as people age, as their friends, colleagues, mates begin to die, as their social engagements and activities begin to reduce, as their social involvements begin to reduce, as the rest of society begin to relate to them less, there can be depression. There can be withdrawal. There can be disinterest. Even in life, these are all things that are not associated with optimal mental health, especially as occasioned in younger people. So these are all. So when you see that, there are no specific drugs for those. Oh no, it's not.
It's a natural phenomenon. That we're trying to say.
Yes, it's a spectrum. It's not a disease
it has to do with aging.
In many, because we are talking about the mental health of aging population.
Yes, that is true.
That's what we're talking about. It doesn't mean that that's what people go on the way. Chief Akure, for example, is 95 and he's still running his establishments. For example, he's still all over the place in the news today for him asking for what he believes, and all that. So for the people, they are fine, no obvious challenge. For some people, there are obvious challenges. There are changes in personality, perception, cognitive activity, and all that. Yes, these are all things that can happen, especially with the older extremes of aging.
Thank you very much. If I may ask, are there any types?
Well,
the types, or if I also ask, is it hereditary? Because like from what you said the Afro Babalola is over 90 years plus and it's still active.
Oh yeah. Even people with all forms of mental health challenge, I said it, any person on the street has one pressure or the other. Nobody that is alive has zero mental health challenge. It is, can you manage it without it affecting your outward activity? What we are talking about today is for those that it may affect their outward activity, may affect what they do, and how they represent themselves in public, as was different from before they turned 60 or 65. So what we're talking about, what are the kind of things they have here? They may be demented. That's dementia. That's a completely different conversation entirely. All right. They may be depressed. They may have less interest social activity. So there are several things that may happen. They may just, for somebody who has been outward and outgoing, for example, I'm here, I can be here at this notice, long shop, whatever, but at 75, I may just be a completely different person, But there are people who are nearly 80, like Joe Biden, and he's still running things as he should. However, he didn't decide to recontest the election
because age is not with him, and his
capacity was dropping. And that's the mental health that we're talking about. That things begin to droop. If we're talking mental health generally, in the general population, the conversation changes a little. I have done some introduction about that. But right now we're talking about the mental health of aging population. Not just adults. Adults, anybody over the age of 18. But now it's aging population. And so how do you relate to the mental health of the elderly? So I guess one question will be, okay, what can we do to help them to manage it or not to slip into very bad mental health challenges?
That takes us to the treatment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so treatment can be primary, can be secondary, can be tertiary. That's the way we talk about it in hospitals. Okay. So primary treatment is not able to calm down mental health with obvious mental health challenges. We all have mental health challenges, but very obvious mental health challenges that creates marked changes in a person's character, fashion, mien, or outlook to life, in several ways. So it's about the preparation for it. Once you know that this is how it happens, you prepare for it from when you are still young, active, and viral. You know, to say this is what, because look, it is what you tell yourself, what you're exposed to, that comes up from your core subconscious, even when you begin to have challenges as well. Okay. So there are people who fall into a trance or who go into a coma and are saying that is exactly conscious, but are saying things that they know because it's already sitting there inside of them. It's a part and parcel of them already. So when you are prepared for this, for example, another very elderly man that is in this society, Bashorun Sendiarubufa, recently wrote a book on aging and preparation for aging. And he's also very elderly, but he's not like, if he's still publishing at that age, in his 80s or, thereabout, he's still delivering. Now because he's continuing to prepare himself over time and continue to develop and meet his own social circles according to output for as long as he lives. Those are all ways to do primary prevention so that you are not too disconnected for what you should do even before it doesn't just jump on you when you find out that you are retired and you have nothing to fall onto, and then you're just all in a room in a small space in your compound, whatever, so there are ways to. Now there are also things about diet, about eating appropriate nutrition. Of course, older people eat less, their muscle bulk drops, their metabolism rate drops, but get the right amount of nutrients, all right, because there are essential micronutrients that the brain feeds on. The body takes a lot of things, the brain is slightly bit of fat, but there are essential micronutrients that help with cognitive capacity. Once it begins to drop in the human body, the rate of mental health decline can increase. All right, so you have usually this is not in the regular starchy food and carbohydrates and all that. They are in micronutrients and minerals that must be gotten in the regular recommended daily allowance that the body requires. So even if a person is eating less food, all right, he's still getting the exact amount of magnesium, selenium, zinc in micrograms and levels. Those are things that can help with that. There are people who eat fish, for example, omega-3, omega-6. These are all things that help with overall balance and shaping equity. And I'm not speaking about this thing specifically. I'm just saying get the essential micronutrients in your diet. So if you eat it, because older people eat less, but get the basics. So it doesn't mean you may not have mental health challenges, but at least I think you are the ones that you can control. There is also the place of social activity and company. Younger people should stay in better touch with older people. When they are company and there are people they relate with regularly, there is the capacity of just dropping or going into depression or anxiety or feeling entirely lonely, entirely reduces to a significant extent. So these are all primary things that can be done. Now, there are secondary things that can be done to say, okay, there are mental health challenges. Well, if there are very obvious mental health challenges that cannot be managed, we always in the hospital. There's a geriatric clinic, for example. There is also the mental health clinic, and which will help people to stay balanced. But geriatric clinics in many places or or welfare clinics. That's what we have here. Helps people to stay in shape, helps people to stay balanced, and helps them to cope with all of this. These are all things that go along. Of course, you also take care of other chronic diseases with increasing age, like diabetes and hypertension. You mismanage those things well, it may, because when the person is coping with elevated blood pressure, possibly a stroke because that's not managed well, or there's a renal dysfunction, a kidney disease, or diabetes, and you have one foot cut off because it has gone very bad. Then you can't have the mental health thing that will come with that because the person is depressed. So these are all things that we can do to prevent. Now, what's the tertiary? When problems have now come up, all right, what do you do to manage it or rehabilitate and ensure that the person is still able to fit back in society? So those are all ways that we can do that. Where there are mental health challenges, especially in the elderly, there are several ways to play.
Thank you very much. If I may ask this last question from you, what is your advice to the good people of Ondo State?
Okay, so the advice is essentially some of all that I've been saying.
Yes.
To say we all will grow old. We all have one mental health challenge or the other. It's different from madness. It's different from being schizophrenic. It's an essential part of our day-to-day existence. And when people grow older, their capacity to deal with shock, deal with the huge changes that happen may not be as elastic as younger people. So younger people, as people grow older, they should prepare for that. And younger people should be more supportive of older segments of the population. And that generally helps us to manage some of these things a lot better.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. Viewers at home, Doctor here said it all. This is where we wrap up the program for the day. Till I come your way, same time, same station next week. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.